On August 12th of 2019, Last Day on Earth introduced seasons into their game. This decision is considered by many to be what killed the game. And while I do not agree with this, I think it is interesting that they are taking a very different approach with Frostborn. Okay, so I've been covering Last Day on Earth since the beginning. I've also covered a lot of other games, but Last Day on Earth was the original game of this channel. When seasons came out in Last Day on Earth, we were excited. I mean, lots of games do seasons well, but it did not go well. It was a lot of grinding, even more than we had already experienced, for not that great of rewards. And even though we complained about this, things didn't really get better, or at least it was really slow. Another huge complaint that we had about seasons is that they weren't adding permanent content. They actually did add permanent content in several seasons like season 3 and season 9, but overall it still felt like it was lacking and most of the seasons weren't really adding anything new. If you want to see a quick overview of all 17 seasons, make sure to check out my video on the 17 seasons of Last Day on Earth. I also have a video on the 3 seasons of Frostborn. It's on the gameplay channel, so it's a little bit more slower paced, and I even play the game while I'm talking about it, but it is still a really good video, and watching both of those videos will give you a lot of context for this video. But if you don't care about the details, then this video is all you need. So to sum up that Last Day on Earth video, seasons are very grindy. You have to do a lot of things that isn't actually smart to do if you're wanting to get wealthier in the game, which makes it feel kind of like busy work, and then the rewards aren't that great, and there's not a lot of permanent content. I'm oversimplifying a little bit. If you watch that video, there are some seasons that are very different than the other ones, and I explained all of those details. But as a general rule, seasons have way too many tasks for not that many rewards, and they don't add a lot of permanent content. Frostborn seasons, on the other hand, could not be more different in those categories. For example, in season 1, Frostborn added new weapons. All of those weapons were attainable by free-to-play players, and even though players that pay can get even more of those weapons, in Frostborn you can kill someone in a zone and take their weapons from them. So it's like, even though you're paying to get more, if I'm smart, if I play as a team, I can get that weapon from you. And they added a bunch of new mounts and ways of getting mounts, which was one of the free-to-play players' complaints, that they weren't able to get higher level mounts. And in the open beta test server, when we were kind of testing out the season, they actually made it to where free-to-play players were going to be able to get like a ton of coins. And I think they realized, wait, people are going to get thousands of coins. And one of the biggest mistakes that I think they made is that instead of just putting a cap on how many coins free-to-play players are going to get, they kind of ruined the whole season because they made it exponential grind, like kind of like a Last Day on Earth level amount of grind to be able to even finish the season. You had to do, like in Last Day on Earth, you got to do all these different tasks. Frostborn players are like, no, we want to do some PvP, or we want to do these things. We're not going to grind that much. That's part of the reason why a lot of LDO players went over to Frostborn, is they're like, yeah, we're not going to grind every day. It's not a single player game. I might lose some stuff, and just fighting in PvP does make you lose stuff because you lose durability and sometimes weapons break. And so it kind of ruined the update. Now, in their defense, the way to get season points was just to play the game. So if you played the game to get rich in the game, then you would get lots of season points, and that would make you even richer. So there was no busy work like in the Last Day on Earth task, but it still was a big grind, and a lot of us never finished the season because it was just too hard. Then season 2 comes out in Frostborn, which has a lot of permanent content. You have the portals, you've got lots of new mounts, and more importantly, they make the grind really tangible and easy. You just do the 3 tasks a day, which if you waited 7 days, then you can just do 21 tasks, and anyone can finish the season. It's not that hard. And if you finish that season, you get a free class, which was very generous. And it felt like, oh, this is a huge reward for the work that we were doing. And then they did also add a competition that made a lot of us waste all of our materials. But if you want to know more about that, make sure to check out my video on the Frostborn seasons. And then this last season in Frostborn, season 3, probably felt the most like a Last Day on Earth season out of any of them. It was still a little bit better in the fact that you could play the game to get rich in the game. But the main reason it reminds me of a Last Day on Earth season is because they added a bunch of storyline in it. Like you go and you find the books and then you turn in those books and it gives you the storyline. But unlike Last Day on Earth, where you've got these separate kind of more disjointed storylines, it seems like the storyline they're introducing in the Temple of Ancestors is the legitimate Frostborn storyline that is affecting the entire game. But then again, I can't say for sure because it's only season 3. You know, season 4, season 5 might have a new storyline that could contradict it and therefore be just like Last Day on Earth. Again, if you are curious about anything that I'm talking about, you think, that doesn't make sense to me, go check out one of those other 2 videos. If you're curious about Last Day on Earth seasons and you're like, wait, I'm new to this, I don't really know what you're talking about the disjointed stories, go check out that video. Or if you're curious about Frostborn, go check out that video. That way you can truly understand what those different seasons are, what they have to offer, and that way you can see the combination of the 2. So in summation, Frostborn seasons are better than Last Day on Earth seasons. They're not astronomically better. I mean, I guess it depends on which season you're comparing because, you know, the best Frostborn season was astronomically better than the worst Last Day on Earth season, but overall they're okay. You know, Frostborn does seem to be making the game a little bit better. A lot of people would argue that seasons in Last Day on Earth are making the game worse than it was without seasons, whereas Frostborn, it seems like the seasons are making the game better than it was without seasons. But it's hard because if you include that a season is keeping them from making a different type of update, then I would argue that it's making them both worse by a lot. And how much do you factor that in? That's what gets confusing about this. But we do know that as an average, Frostborn seasons are better than Last Day on Earth seasons. And here's why I think they're doing this. You can see here that, you know, Last Day on Earth is still their biggest game by a long shot. You know, Siberica, when it first came out, you know, shot above it for a little bit as far as downloads, but it's going down pretty quick. It's still better than Grimsoul and Frostborn. And of course, these old games that they don't update anymore. But we got these 4 games. And of course, if those of you who have watched my other videos, you'll know that Andre is working on a lot more projects than just these 4. And you can see that Last Day on Earth got almost 1 million downloads last month, and they're still at 1 million in revenue. So it's still their top game. It's producing a lot. But then you get Siberica, which had 500,000. That's a lot of downloads. But it's still, I mean, it's producing like nothing. It just, people are playing through that storyline and they're not motivated to spend any money on it. Then you got Grimsoul Survival, which was their second big game that they worked on, and I covered it a lot when it first came out. They're still getting 300k downloads. That's good. 100k, not nearly as good as Last Day on Earth, but it's still, you know, they're not going to abandon the project. It's still making money and it's got a lot of downloads, a lot of attention to the Kefir name. But then look at Frostborn. Frostborn has the worst downloads out of all of their games. It is just not getting that much attention. But then look at the revenue. It's making half of what Last Day on Earth is with almost 1/5 the downloads. Isn't that crazy? So in my opinion, it makes sense that they would make Frostborn's seasons better, because then it's going to give more downloads, better reviews, the better excitement about the game. It's going to bring up those downloads, and they don't need to make more money. So they don't need to make as much pay to win updates or seasons. I still personally think it's way more pay to win than it should be. I think, seriously, Kefir, like, you're getting twice as much per download. Just milk that. Go and make it super free to play and just see if you can get those downloads up really high. And then, I don't know, you switched it on Last Day on Earth. For those of you who haven't watched my other videos, Last Day on Earth used to be very free to play. And that's what made it explode. And I think Kefir knows that. I mean, I've told Kefir that in a ton of my videos. That is what made Last Day on Earth explode. And maybe they decided, well, it exploded, now we're just going to monetize it. It's their game, they can do what they want. But Frostborn hasn't really exploded yet. So in my opinion, with these numbers being so high, they should focus on just whatever gets them more downloads. I mean, they could do it with advertising. They're not really. They're advertising Last Day on Earth a lot more than they advertise Frostborn. Okay, so I recorded this video a month ago and I've been having a little bit of trouble with the editing, and so that's why it took so long to release it. But it's actually even more perfect because now you guys get to see how my predictions kind of lined up perfectly. Season 4 was ridiculously amazing. They basically gave a free class to anyone. I have 6 Frostborn accounts, and I was able to do the same season on all 6 accounts and was able to get a ton of rewards and a level 3 class for free. None of the legendary weapons are pay to win exclusive. None of the best armor is pay to win exclusive. They just made it absolutely ridiculous for free to play players. And now season 5 is about to come out in Frostborn, and it's basically battle royale, or it's not quite battle royale, but it's like that type of an event for the game, and it's gonna be amazing. Season 18, you know, it's got some of the lowest views Last Day on Earth has had, and you can see that in the downloads. You can see here Last Day on Earth went down to 700. Siberica's still up there. It's making even less money, which I didn't even know that was possible. But then Frostborn and Grimsoul switched, and this is just a month. Now Frostborn's still making the same amount of money, so I think that it's more advanced players or people that have been playing the game for a while that are the ones that are spending the most money. So that hasn't gone up, but a lot of people in Frostborn are reporting tons of new players. You're seeing them in the zones. You're seeing, wow, there's all this new life to Frostborn. Now it is sad that Grimsoul and Last Day on Earth has gone down, and I'm sure that fluctuates from month to month, so that may not be that big of a deal. I definitely know Kefir's not trying to make Last Day on Earth or Grimsoul go down. That's dumb. They're not going to try to sabotage their own games, but they might not be focusing on it as much, or they're trying to monetize it more, which again, this goes with my theory that the best way to monetize a game is to make it more fun, because then you get that endorphin rush that makes you want to spend money. I often want to spend money in Frostborn, and obviously a lot of other people want to spend more money on Frostborn, but it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, season 5 hasn't even come out yet. It's about to be the new year. It'll be really interesting to see what happens when that update comes out. And not only is it lots of PvP, but they made it really easy to where anyone coming in can, even if you suck at PvP, you can still complete the season, get a level 3 class for free, get tons of rewards and legendary weapons. It's insane. So I'd say as you watch this video, I was kind of more tentative. I was like, I think Frostborn's better. They seem to have a different tactic. Well, now I'd say season 4 and season 5 are just blowing any LDUE season out of the water. So that's why I think the seasons are better than the Last Day on Earth seasons. They're not as worried about making money with the seasons. They're more worried about trying to get more traction to the game. So that's my theory on it. I'm really curious on your thoughts. Why is Kefir making better seasons in Frostborn than they are in Last Day on Earth? Why are they listening to the Frostborn players and really listening to the Last Day on Earth players, but putting it into Frostborn rather than Last Day on Earth? I want to know your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.